Okay, good evening, everyone. We want to welcome you to our Wednesday night Bible study. It is, man, I forgot the date. It's close to Halloween. We're a couple days away from Halloween, and so the 27th, and it's the 27th today. And so we want to welcome you. So you guys go ahead and get your Bibles. We're going to do a little bit of scripture reading, but we just want to catch up on everything. And so I know I explained a little bit with what was it, with Sunday service, and I just want to explain a little bit more. And so uh, I'm the tech guy for all of this stuff, and so I get to mess with all that. But what really helps out the church and also the mission, right? What we're supposed to be doing as Christians, as believers, is spreading the gospel, spreading the good news, telling everybody about Jesus and everything that he has done, not only for us, but for other people, and what he's done for the individual that we may be reaching out to. And I just want to encourage you guys to go ahead and share, to go ahead and tell people about our services, not only online but in person as well. You know, invite people to go out to do what we are accustomed to doing, that's worshiping the Lord in fellowship. And so one of those ways that you can do that is by whatever platform you're watching this on currently. And I know that it's kind of rare, but we have viewers that will show up on Vimeo on the website part. And so it was really encouraging to see that we had people watching. Might have been just been computers set, just to watch or whatever, but we had viewers tuned in from somewhere. And so we don't get to see all the demographics like a lot of companies probably get to be able to see, but go ahead and share the stream. If you're on YouTube, right, you just hit the little share deal, and then it gives you a link to be able to copy and paste and put anywhere that you want. You can put that in a text message. You can put that in Facebook Messenger and whatever messaging services you have on Facebook, right? You just share, and you can share it to your profile. Again, you can send it in Messenger. I think there's a way to copy the link as well. Facebook's video is a little bit different. It gives you this big old long web address, and that's not really needed. You can find us. In fact, I forgot. What is it? Cushing Indian? Hold on. Let me bring it up real quick. I believe it's facebook.com/ yep, Cushing Indian Baptist Church. I know that's a long deal, but it's really easy to remember because that's who we are. It's Cushing Indian Baptist Church. And so facebook.com/ whatever. And you can find all of our past live streams right there. Now, I'm still trying to work on getting some recent streams that we did with our mission team that went out. And I think that our service didn't connect all the services on Sunday, and so maybe some of our YouTube viewers, missed out. So what I'm trying to get all that sorted out. It's a process, because if it doesn't get sent out, you have to download the file and then re-upload it, and then share the links, and they're not connected, right? So you can't say this one goes over here. It's all separate, right? And so that's why we have our website. And let me pull that up real quick. offthepews.com. And you can find all of our stuff there. And so I'm going to make it a point that we're going to start updating that pretty regularly. Now that we're trying to get back out, we're trying to do the things that we want to do. Like I said, fellowship, all that type of stuff. And for those of you that haven't heard, right, they approved the vaccine for the elementary school age children. And so that's good news. Again, we can start looking at not requiring that, but that's available now. And that's what was hindering a lot of maybe younger school age children doing events and everything like that. And so I know that's been on our mind and on our agenda to get Wednesday night services back at the church and be able to have that youth evening. And so things are looking up. And so if you guys didn't know, and now you have kids in that age, I don't have any information, but I know that it's coming. And I know that IHS will be one of the first ones for all of our native people. They will be one of the first ones to be able to have that vaccine available. And so if you want to take care of your tithes, I know that we run this during Sunday service. But if you want to go ahead and take care of that, or you want to make a love offering, you want to make an offering, you want to donate towards some of our stuff that we do, you can donate to the Tribe of Judah, which is our dance ministry team, and help out those guys. So when they start going out again, things are going to start ramping back up for us. We sent a small mission team out and about to be able to proclaim God's love. And so we're gonna start doing that stuff. And one of those things that you guys can help is by sharing, by promoting, by just telling people about not only our online stuff, but hey, we're getting back to church. We're doing the things that we're used to doing. Again, we're not going to go back to normal. There's not a normal. There's not I guess there is an old way of doing things, and maybe we can maybe say that was one method of achieving success, but things are evolving, the world's evolving, and we're going to be looking at new ways of doing things, and we've already explained that here. You guys can go back and watch, but we're going to be doing more video, more stuff where we can connect a longer distance fellowship, right? And not that we want to take away from anything, right? But there aren't a whole lot of pastors and preachers and leaders that are fulfilling that call. It's placed upon them. They know it. It's tugging at them. They have this urge that they don't, it's not really going away and stuff like that. That's the calling of God. But we see where some people aren't acknowledging that, aren't fulfilling that. And so, it's upon us to be able to help out where we can. If that's training pastors, if that's training preachers, that's something that we want to be able to do. If it's just getting God's message out, God's love and His promise to us, His covenant with us that He made through the blood of Jesus Christ, that's something that we want to help out as well. And we know that there's a lot of churches out there that are in need, and we want to do our part, right? We have this knowledge, we have these skills, and it's because God blessed us with that to be able to use that in His service. And so, there's a lot of different ways and different methodologies, different things, skills that maybe we come across. And I know that, it might seem like a different thing, right? And I'm not saying that there are bad ways and good ways of doing certain things, but we have to remember that we are all God's children and that we all need to be united. Paul, when he was writing to the church in Corinth, right? He's seen a lot of things maybe that they weren't doing, that they weren't seeing success at, right? They weren't being successful at. And he was pointing out these things, and there's a what we could call a laundry list of things that were maybe items that they stumbled upon, right? But one of the biggest ones was that they couldn't agree on how to go about different things. And this is even a thing where people groups get start stumbling even to today, right? But we have the Bible to be able to show us examples of where maybe we need to, again, we talked about this before, where we need to get back on the path, where we need to reorient ourselves, where maybe what we're doing isn't the best way on how to do it. Maybe it isn't God's way on how to do it. And so in chapter 10 of First Corinthians, we're going to read a little bit, just a little bit here about the disagreement, not the particulars, right? Not of maybe an issue, a particular issue present in the church, and maybe not an issue that's present today in our society, right? And we can probably throw out a bunch of different ones about just the word politic, right? Or just the word news, or just the word media, right? There's issues and probably not just sides, but battle lines drawn in some of these areas. And what we're going to read is about the disagreement itself, about the group and the way God has blessed us to be able to maybe go about these things together instead of separate. We're gonna read. Let's see. Where's a good place to start? So I'm going to read the first few verses because it talks about their restoration, their being freed from captivity. Okay, and during that time there was a couple disagreements, right? Not only were they disagreeing with their leader, they were disagreeing with themselves, and then ultimately they didn't like how they were supposed to go about achieving these things, right? It says, now I want you to know, starting in verse 1, now I want you to know, brothers, that our fathers were all under the cloud, all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. They all ate the same spiritual food and all drank the same spiritual drink. Where they came from was all the same. And where they were going was all the same. What he's trying to get us to think about is that we all come from one point, one source. And you hear this even in a scientific theory about the Big Bang Theory and all that type of stuff. But we all came from God. And here, they were all the same. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we are different in any manner, right? Different skin color, different ideologies, different eye colors, stuff like that. What he's saying is inside and where we were going, right? That spiritual part, we're all the same because we're all from God. He created us all. They all ate the same spiritual food and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank from a spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But God was not pleased with most of them, for they were struck down in the wilderness. There is a point when there is separation that comes to us. There is a point when we'll just start when sin entered the world, right? There's a point to where they came to, and it was up to us. It was a choice. It was an act to be able to follow God, right? He laid the foundation. He created us, but it was up to us whether or not we turned away from Him. And that's true even to today. That's true even into when we were talking about groups, we're talking about churches, we're talking about community organizations or anything. There's a point in where we maybe come to a time when we have to either continue to follow God, continue down the right path, or look at other things. Look at other ways. Look at other methods. But God was not pleased with most of them, for they were struck down in the wilderness. Now these things became examples for us, so that we will not desire evil things as they did. Right? These stories, the prophecies, the testament, right? The word that was given to us is good. I can't remember the exact wording of the verse, but it says it's good for everything. It's good for learning. It's good for discipline. It's good for correction. It's good for sustenance, even, right? When we're hungry, it may not be that we're physically hungry. Maybe we're spiritually hungry. Maybe we need to be quenched. Our thirst needs to be quenched spiritually, right? But this is where we go back and we try to look at what it is we've been given, and we can lay out any of the issues that we were talking about earlier. We can lay out any of the things that come up in our life right there on the table right here, and we have to choose. We have to act. Don't become idolaters as some of them were, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and got up to play. Let us not commit sexual immorality as some of them did, and in a single day 23,000 people fell dead. Let us not test Christ as some of them did and were destroyed by snakes, nor should we complain as some of them did and were killed by the destroyer. When we get worrisome, when we think that things aren't working out right, we usually don't want to go it alone. We usually don't want to comfort is in the numbers. Comfort is in even on the good side of thinking about this stuff, right? It's more comforting to know that God is there with us. But that's not how he designed us. That's not how he created us, right? He gave us a purpose in this life, and we have to follow that purpose. And we know that it's good because he gave it to us. Anything that he gives us is good. Anything that we find out here probably isn't good. And we don't want to say, the bad words or be negative or anything like that. But out here, if we trust these things that are around in this world, that we create, right, that we manipulate, that's evil. And that's what he's saying here. Don't focus on those things. Instead, focus on what God has led you to do. And the disagreement, right? When the group starts to murmur, starts to become argumentative, right? About what it is that not so much for the group anymore, but what individuals think is good for the group. And that's where we see what we were talking about earlier, the disagreements, the arguments, the fellowship of Christ start to break apart because they become focused on other things. They become focused on their own desires and not what God wants. And we talked a little bit about this a while back, but that's how we can recognize. And that was a good example of being able to see when Abram and was it his brother? Lot had to go their own ways, right? When it came time that they were arguing and they couldn't sort out their differences, they had to part ways. And it wasn't because they were different; they were the same. But it was based on that fact that they were both created of God, that they didn't want to harm each other. They didn't want their herdsmen to harm each other. They didn't want their families mad at each other. So the best way they thought about it was they will part ways and they will be in different areas. Not that they were going to say, we're going to be enemies or anything like that, but they just outgrew their space. And it was the fact that he seen that they weren't acting godlike. They weren't acting Christ-like anymore towards each other. And that's what it boils down to. When we think about the arguments, when we think about the disagreements, the discussions that turn bad or whatever, we need to think about whether or not we're fulfilling God's command. And I talk about what Jesus gave us when he said, I give you a new command. Love God, but also love your neighbor as you would love yourself. He said, love God and love people. He didn't say anything about making sure that we're okay and that we're doing right or anything like that. He said, focus on God because that's where you're going to get your instruction, but then focus on people because that's the service that he's given us. And it's disservice. It's not very good service. It's not Christ-like if we're in a disagreement and we become adversarial. We become enemies of one another because we want this and they want that, right? Even business is good business is based on the principle that both are getting both win in whatever partnership is going on, right? And now there's competing businesses, I know that, but even then they profit, they prosper on the fact that they will help each other improve. Coca-Cola and Pepsi is a prime example of that, right? When one started to make different flavors, the other one started to make different flavors. And it wasn't that, they wanted more market share, even though that's good for them, right? They wanted to be pleasing to more people so that in return, right, they will be able to have more profits and be able to create more jobs and all that type of stuff. Now, we don't know those attitudes when those businessmen, I'm going to get Pepsi and all that. But the good thing is that they're in agreement with each other. Okay, they're Pepsi, they're Coke or whatever. We're Baptist, they're Methodist. Good. We're not at each other's throats, right? What does Jesus say? If they're not against me, then leave them alone, because they're not trying to destroy you. They're not trying to all that type of stuff. It's just a different way. And in that same way, when the two families had to separate, right? It wasn't because they wanted to look at different things, even though that's what happened. He didn't choose the best place for himself because he was tempted even more. And that's what Paul is talking about to the church here. It says, now that these things happened to them as examples, and they were written as a warning to us, on whom the ends of the ages have come. So whoever thinks he stands must be careful not to fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to humanity. God is faithful, and he will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, he will also provide a way of escape so that you are able to bear it. One of the things that we can recognize when we're in a disagreement, when we don't really think that things are right, is we can go to God and we can ask for that wisdom to be able to discern whether or not now it might take a while. It might not be instantaneous, right? There might be some more deliberation. There might be hidden motives, right? People might be just acting out because they don't want to reveal what they truly want. But that's what he's given us. He's given us that, and that's what he will give us. He will bless us with that patience, that peace, that calmness, because that's what it promises here. We go to him, we ask for that, we will receive it. It's not guaranteed to the people who aren't of the children of God, and that's what he's saying right here. We're all the same. What he's trying to show the church here in Corinth is that there's no need for the grumbling. There's no need for the backstabbing. There's no need for what they're going through right now if they just focus on God and his mission and his command to love one another, to love God and love one another. And when we get in those tough situations, we have to reorient ourselves. Just like what Abram said was, you know what? This isn't going to work. We need to not, take sides. There's plenty of land here. Let's go make use of that. You go ahead and pick. I'm going to let you pick because, this is how I feel. This is what God has laid on my heart. Let's go ahead and do that. Right? And he was probably looking at other things, but he said, well, I'm going to take this over here. And again, maybe he wasn't paying attention to totally what was going on with the spiritual side. He was just wanting to see what he could experience physically and materialistically, right? Sometimes it's like that. There may be disagreements. There may be things going on. There may be worries that come upon us, right? Different things. We have to focus on God, and we have to reorient ourselves when we get in those situations. And like we heard Sunday, right? If we go to him, right, he will show us those things. He will let us know. And sometimes we won't even understand it, but he's gonna show us. He's gonna reveal to us his ultimate plan. And that's the good news, is that we can have that relationship with him. We can go to him and have that relationship because he sent his son. Because we couldn't do it on our own. He sent his son to die for us in exchange for our lives. He gave his life up for our souls. And that's the good news. And in doing so, we want to be able to serve him. He replaces all that materialistic, that physical, that greedy, that those fleshly desires, those fleshly wants and needs, with spiritual ones that are so much better, that are incomprehensible, right? It's crazy on how once we make that turn, once we make that about face, or that 360, right? How much we are blessed, and how much we realize that, and how much we continue to realize that, what He's set up for us, what He's done for us, and everything. We just have to love Him and love our people, right? And when we get in those disagreements, we're not really loving. We're not really. We have to temper ourselves against that. And one of those ways is to be able to go to the Bible, to be able to study, to be able to go to Him, talk to Him, communicate with Him, and just be able to spend some time with Him. And that's what we encourage you to do. Every week we are on here. Every Sunday we're in church, and we want you to join us. We want you to be able to experience that same joy and happiness, that same peace and calm and serenity that He promises us. And we know it's true because we see it, and we can testify to that, right? So that's all I had for this evening. Again, going off of those things that come up, there's just sometimes that we need to take a step back and be like, what would Jesus do? You remember those bracelets? What would Jesus do in this situation? What would God do in this situation? Would we be, talking behind people's back, laughing at them, snickering at them, doing all these kind of things? No. He would try to help. He would put us out there to be able to understand each other, to communicate. Even Him, He knew when the time was right to get out. We see it in the Bible. He knew when they couldn't even be preached to. They were so mad at Him. He dipped out. But He didn't forget about them. In fact, He prayed for them. And that's powerful to know that. Again, there are times in our churches, times in our families, times in our communities when we don't really necessarily agree on everything. But you know what? We can sit at the table and we can say, what would God have us do? Let's let God be our guide today. And so, just something I thought about when I was reading. I was actually listening about when I was talking about when Abraham and Lot separated. What was the mentality there going on? And so we just, that was a thought. And so here, let's do that again. If you want to take care of your tithes, you can take care of your tithes. There's Tithely. You would search Cushing Indian Baptist. I don't think we have like our own link, but we have, you can get there from there. Just search on there. And so we'll be live again. When is that? We're on the air with 1600 AM KUSH every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, right after Native Air. We are live with Facebook, Vimeo, YouTube every Sunday morning. Sunday school starts Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and then our main worship service starts at 11. And so come and join us if you're able to, physically in person, or join us online. Share the details out. And so we will catch you next week.